All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Joseph Rendon Stadium here on the campus of Chula Vista High School. Tonight's matchup brings you the Spartans of Chula Vista versus your very own Hilltop Lancers. Let's go ahead and get into our pregame. Let's go ahead and compare these two teams to see where we look before we kick off tonight. Coming into the game, both teams are 0-1 on the season. They both had losses in their first non-league game. And remember, this is the 2001 COVID season, so we are going to have a shortened season. And Chula Vista lost to Sweetwater last week, and Hilltop lost to Otay Ranch. So going into stats, let's look at the Chula Vista Spartans, led by quarterback, senior, number 15, Omar Perez. Omar Perez, they do have, I'll let you know right now, Chula Vista is using stats from their scrimmage game earlier as well. So they'll have down as 2 games here using the stats from the scrimmage game. And so far, Omar Perez has played in the 2 games. He's had 50 attempts. He is a ball thrower. He's had 50 attempts, 21 completes for a total of 305 yards with a completion percentage of .420. His average pass is 14.5 yards, and he's averaging 152.5 yards per game. He does have 3 touchdowns and equaled by 3 interceptions. His longest pass on the season so far is 65 yards, and he has a QB rating of 57.5. Over on the receiving side for the Spartans, the gentleman that Perez is throwing to is led by number 9, Carlos Jimenez. Carlos Jimenez is a senior. He's had 5 receptions in those 2 games, 58 yards. He's averaging 11.6 yards per carry and 29 yards per game. His longest is 15 yards. He does have 1 touchdown on the season. Next up is number 4, senior, and that is Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez also has 5 receptions in the 2 games. He has 54 yards. His average is 10.8 yards per game. His average is 10.8 yards per reception. And yards per game is about 27 yards. His long is 18. Now moving over to the rushing side for the Spartans. Number 24 is a junior, and that's Anthony Venegas. Venegas in 2 games has 10 carries for 22 yards. He's averaging 2.2 yards per carry and 11 yards per game. His longest rush is 3 yards. And as we move over, their kicking game is by number 3, and that is Daniel Montes. Montes is a junior. He has 3 points coming off kicking, and he's averaging 1.5 points per game. That is summing it up there for the Spartans. Let's head on over to your Lancers and see how your Lancers are holding up. Your Lancers are going off of 1 game stat. Remember that, 1 game. We're only keeping stats on a regular game, not a scrimmage. And so here we go. Projected quarterback coming into the year would have been Diego Castro, senior. And unfortunately, Diego last year was injured, had to have surgery in the offseason on a knee injury, was not expected to play this year. And because of the COVID season and the year being pushed back, Castro was able to come out at the end here. And unfortunately, in the scrimmage against Olympian, Castro sustained a knee injury that knocked him out for the season. So unfortunately, back-to-back knee injuries that have knocked the young man out. Devastating, but he is a great young man. He's out here supporting his team, doing what he needs to do to help his team win and to help the quarterback do his job. At quarterback for the Lancers is number 12 senior Jacob Zimmerman. Zimmerman is known for having the strongest arm on the campus, and there was great talks about him even his freshman year about leading this varsity program from the quarterback position. Zimmerman, uncomfortable at quarterback, doesn't like the pressures of the position, just wants to catch the ball, run, and on defense hit people. Has been asked to step into this position. And so in his first game at quarterback, he had 10 attempts with 4 completions for 23 yards, a completion percentage of 400%. His average was 5.8 yards per completion, and yards per game obviously was 23, being 1 game. Quarterback rating of 8.3. And I will recap that game from last week. Many of those passes from Zimmerman bounced off the hands and bounced off the chest plates of the intended receivers. Those receivers were not used to the ball coming that hard and that fast from Jacob Zimmerman. His passes, for the most part, were on target. Just has to sync up with that receiving crew. On that receiving crew is made up of 3 main receivers, led by junior Enrique Nunez. He had 2 yards on last week's reception, with the average or yards per game was 2. Then was George Venegas, senior, 1 reception with 5 yards, and followed by Morris. And Morris's first name, we'll get that to you right now. That is Mason Morris with 2 receptions for 16 yards. Over on the running game, we have a sophomore sensation here on Varsity. And that young gentleman, Joshua Bernardo, it had 11 carries for 24 yards, averaged 2.2 yards. His longest was 5. The big story was Zimmerman on his reads, making the runs himself. Zimmerman with 74 yards on 12 carries. If you remember, his first two carries out of the block went for 24 yards and did a great job there. 49 yards was his longest run of the day. And so coming back to the matchup, in the last 16 games between the Spartans and the Lancers, you have an 8-8 tie, with the Lancers taking the last 5 in the series. And just so for you folks that are remembering, this is the annual Kiwanis Bowl. However,
I'd like to remind you that because of the COVID protocol,
this is the annual Kiwanis Bowl. However, being a COVID year, they're still working on that out, so we are not really promoting that too much. We're just promoting this is going to be a great West Side crosstown game between longtime legendary rivals, the Spartans of Chula Vista and the Lancers of Hilltop. Head coach for the Chula Vista Spartans is Howard Bannister. Howard is in his 4th year as head coach here for the Spartans. And while we're here, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and just flip this camera around and say hello to the head coach of the Chula Vista Spartans, Howard Bannister.
Hey, Chula Vista American Little League.
There we go. Coach Bannister is an icon here in our city, in our community. He is working everywhere. He is coaching, he is teaching, he has done the president duties, coaching duties at Chula Vista American Little League. He is a man that has been all over the place. And head coach for the Hilltop Lancers is Brian Wagner, 1980 graduate, went on to college, and then moved on to the NFL for, I believe, 9 years in the NFL, peaking with the San Diego Chargers in the Super Bowl. And Coach Wagner has then come on and made a career as a high school football coach, high school teacher, made his way from Chicago out here to California, where he wanted to come back home to Hilltop. Had a short stint at Sweetwater High School for a couple of years until the position opened here at Hilltop. And Coach Wagner got the job and is in his first season, brought in some buddies from Hilltop. One of them, most notably, is his defensive coordinator, longtime coach at Hilltop High School and teacher, Kurt Gritz. And the 2 high school teammates are now side by side on the sideline coaching the same team that they played for all those years ago. All right, we're going to have a treat coming up just quick. The national anthem is going to be sung by the head coach of the Chula Vista Spartans, Howard Bannister. We'll make sure to get that on camera for you. Okay, captain's coming out to the middle of the field. For the Spartans, that's number 9, Carlos Jimenez. For the Lancers, that's number 69, Michael Rodriguez.
Greg Raymond, head linesman Justin Wesley, line judge Tony Nelson, and the back judge John Fowler.
Both gentlemen are seniors representing their respective schools. And this is another one of the protocols with the COVID season. Only one captain for each team. All right, Chula Vista won the coin toss. They decided to defer to the Hilltop Lancers. The Lancers will receive the ball first, which means the start of the second half, the Spartans will have the advantage receiving the ball.
Okay. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
and we're going to bring it in here, ladies and gentlemen.
And remove your hats as Chula Vista's head coach, Howard Bannister, presents our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Great job to head coach Howard Bannister of the Chula Vista Spartans. And we'll be right back for kickoff.
I think we need to send him to The Voice.
Kurt Grits, this is John Saltz. I can hear you. This is offense.
There's defense. I'm here. Can you hear me? Yes, sir. All right, we're good to go. Okay, you guys lost the coin toss.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
Daniel Montes to kick off for the Spartans.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go.